Hello everybody, this is Dragonzilla 1991 here, and today/tonight, depending on what time it is when you're watching this video, I will be talking about a figure which although I've had for a while, it's actually quite new to the collection, and that will be the Mojo for Deinotherium. Now Deinotherium is one of my all-time favourite prehistoric Proboscideans, along with the mammoths and mastodons, etc. and so on, and this is actually the third model of this colossus that I've ever bought. The others that I have are from Collector, Eofauna, and Bullyland, which is also recent. And for the animal itself, well, this giant originally evolved 13 million years ago during the mid-Miocene epoch. It was native to Africa, Asia, and I believe Europe as well. I could be wrong on that. It would have been one of many Goliaths that our ape ancestors would have avoided, as things would have gotten very dangerous, especially whenever this short-tempered giant was in must and all ready for mating. Now for Mojo's interpretation of the terrible beast, and what do I think of it? Well, when I first saw images of the figure online, I thought that it looked good, but I was pretty much satisfied with the collector model, and later on the Eofauna figure, to which I believe was released a year or two later. However, I did eventually see the Mojo Deinotherium in a souvenir shop in a zoo just outside of Doncaster, and I thought actually he doesn't look too bad, but I never bought it because I wasn't in that right frame of mind to purchase at the time. And I never ordered until after I returned from hospital last year. I ordered him along with some other figures from Everything Dinosaur, one of them being of course the Safari Limited Megalosaurus that I reviewed already. The link is in the description below in case you wish to check the video out, and the rest we'll look at them on other occasions. Now even though I said all of them are from everythingdinosaur.com, well for others I tell a bit of a slight porker. Only the Deinotherium and Smilodon were ordered from Amazon, Megalosaurus eBay, but the rest were Everything Dinosaur. First is the colour scheme, and I absolutely adore it, as it just feels so right for a pachyderm, and I can picture Deinotherium to be in this particular colour scheme, and the tusks are clean white with a little bit of weathering. While we're on the topic of them, the tusks themselves are just lovely, and they will be the first thing to come to mind as soon as you think of this animal. But on this model they're quite spread out a bit wider than you see on other merch of this titan. And another feature that makes Deinotherium stand out from the rest of the crowd would be the trunk. Now Deinotherium is often depicted with a short trunk for whatever reason, and it's occasionally illustrated with a long one, but either way it's now believed that the trunk itself may have actually been halfway, and although not the right angle, other manufacturers reflect this perfectly well. However, on the Mojo figure, the trunk, as you can see, is ridiculously too short. I mean, what on earth were they thinking? Look at that! It's insanely puny. How is this able to drink? And even the neck is too short and thick too. Deinotherium may have had a trunk that was midway, but at least the neck would have been long enough to reach for high vegetation and drink water. I suppose this particular Deinotherium submerges himself whenever he goes to reclench his thirst, but design-wise it does actually remind me of the Deinotherium from Walking with Beasts episode 4, Next to Kin, as that too had a tiny trunk, so maybe that's what Mojo was referencing, but either way it should be halfway, or a bit longer. Heck, it's even halfway at the tusks. When it comes to the pose of Deinotherium models, companies tend to give this Goliath a dramatic pose. With Collector, it's what I could only describe as eye raid, where Eofauna and Bullyland, I believe are meant to be representing the animal drinking, due to the way that the trunks are curved. However, Mojo have gone for what appears to be calm and neutral, and this does honestly make a nice change. May have been a short-tempered colossus, but it was still an animal living its day-to-day life. Now for size comparisons. Well, this is what he looks like with the Eofauna Deinotherium that we looked at before, links in the description below. Here he is with Collector's interpretation of the terrible beast, which is definitely one of their best prehistoric animal models in my opinion, and I do plan to make a video of it someday. This is what he looks like with the old Bullyland Deinotherium, and here he is with the Mojo full woolly mammoth that we covered not too long ago, links in the description below. So overall, what are my final thoughts on the Mojo Fun Deinotherium? Again, like the other models, spot on. Well, fairly decent. I think that the trunk, as I mentioned earlier, could have been much better, but except for that, I really do like this figure, and will highly recommend it, especially if you're a Deinotherium enthusiast like myself, even though he does live in the shadow of the collected Eofauna models respectively, but he's still great looking nonetheless, and thus there aren't too many Deinotherium merch out there in the wilderness, so yeah, I would say pick him up. However, I would be very interested to see how Safari would represent this giant. But until then, this is Dragonzilla 1991 signing out. Take care, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.